Seems good. Want to start out with that word equivalent. So we did ratios, section 1. We did rates, section 2. Rates are just a ratio with the units being different. Equivalent is the new part. What are we talking about when we have like equivalent ratios or equivalent rates? Okay, this here, equivalent, I heard the same. Pretty much, I'm going to say means the same. Means equal or the same. And we did that in section 1, and I guess in section 2 where we changed it to a unit rate. We had two different ratios or two different rates that were both equal. When you reduce something, you have that. So my first example here, I have this 15 miles over 1 hour, 30 miles over 2 hours. Would you say those are equivalent or equal? Yes. And the way I do it is this. How could I get from 15 to 30? I could add 15 or multiply by 2. Well, do you agree if I multiply something by 1, I don't change its value at all? Yeah. Agreed? Well, do you agree 2 over 2 equals 1? Yes. Yeah. So if I multiply by 1, it doesn't change its value. If multiplying by 2 over 2 is the same as multiplying by 1, you say, well, if I take this and multiply by 2, that gets me up to 30, right? If I multiply the denominator, the 1 hour, by 2, that gets me up to 2 hours. Essentially, I just multiplied by 2 over 2, or I multiplied by 1. So and that's what we were doing in the first section when we were reducing ratios, but we were dividing. So the point is, you can multiply or you can divide the numerator and denominator in a ratio by the same number, and it's still going to be equivalent or equal. So let me write that down. You can multiply or divide both the numerator and denominator by the same number and get an, you could say equal ratio if you wanted to. I'm going to say equivalent, stick with a cool math word. EQUIVALENT, equivalent ratio. Which basically just means another ratio that equals the same thing, that's worth the same number. So, work for you? So example 2, I'm hoping some of you have kind of small favorite numbers. Who has a favorite number? 7. I heard 7. All right, so we have 7. You can pick your own number. You're like, I don't like 7, but just a number of perfection in the Bible. But if we multiply both of these by 7, we get 49 units would be, no one got it wrong, minutes, over 7 miles. So if you're running and you're doing a 7-minute mile, 7 minutes for 1 mile, in theory, if you could run 7 miles, it'd take you 49 minutes at that pace. So who else has a nice favorite number?
32.
So I heard 8, and then we can do the 32 maybe. So 7 minutes over 1 mile. So I heard 8. So if we multiply by 8, we have 56 minutes over 8 miles. So now I have 3 because the first two are the same. So that's a rate, this is a rate. Those are all equivalent. They're all equal. And actually, I'm gonna ditch the 32. Sorry, because I'm a jerk like that. But do you agree? I could divide by. I wanted to divide. Dividing by 32 just gets ugly. You could do it, but if I divide by 2, let's do the easy one first. What's half of 8 miles? 4 miles. Half of 56 is a little more challenging. Anybody feeling?
36.
No. Not 36. It'll be 20-something.
It's 27. 23.
Close. 28.
It is?
I think so. Should be 28. Yep.
Oh, no.
So you could, and the point was, you could get a different color. So as long as you multiply by the same number or divide by the same number, you'll get an equivalent ratio. And that's all of section 3.
So you can.
That was a little bit of false advertising. Quick last comment. You can't add or subtract the same number to the numerator and denominator and get an equivalent ratio. It's only multiply or divide. Only multiply, divide.